JD, what about talent? Because all these organizations will have to have capable talent on board to handle, right? Because it looks like more and more, right? Weight is on the availability of the resources. So question is, where do you see we stand? Because here and there, it's like 80 organizations, 80%, some stats, right, reporting that they are understaffed, right? And where do you think we're going? Mm-hmm.
There is an estimate of roughly 3 to 4 million positions now, which cannot be fulfilled because we don't have enough talent. And I assume that that is going to be more. So if we don't act, we don't get very active, it's going to be 4 million, 5 million, 6 million. It will increase. There are a couple of things that we can do. One of the things that we should do much more is that we have an enormous talent pool we are not using. 50% of the world's population are women, right? Now look at the technology departments. Look at the universities. Look at it is improving. If I compare it to when I was in college, it has definitely improved, but it's not where we should be. So by working all of us together to make it much more possible for young girls and for women who want to change their career, because we know that half of the 50% of the current cybersecurity experts didn't start as a cybersecurity expert. They changed their career. So women who want to change their career, young girls who want to get involved in this, give them that opportunity and show them and demonstrate them. And that's why I love what you do as well, by making technology something where you can talk about. Give them a very clear message. Yes, you belong here. We need you. Please come over. What we can also look at is neurodiversity. Currently, it is all too much in a small pool, and there is some diversity, but not enough. We should increase that. We should look at the people with a special talent, which maybe do not fulfill the requirements of the technology and the classical models, but they do have the talent we need. We should start looking at that. And the third thing that I think is very important is that we accept that for most security issues, we don't need enormously qualified people to solve those. I think that we are still assigning a lot of the work to overqualified people and have them solve issues which are caused by the fact that we have not solved the basics. So if we do the basics, and I mentioned them a few times already, but I want to repeat them: patch management, identity management, segregation, and segmentation. If we take care of that, then the special talent will be less overloaded. And I assume that we can then, maybe if it still would be 3 million jobs, we can keep it at 3 million jobs and prevent that it will escalate to 4, 5, and 6 million. There are a lot of things that we can do, but what we must start with is make sure that everybody is welcome in our industry, including the ladies. Please, ladies, we really, really need you.
Excellent. This is excellent message out there, JD. Thank you for that, because frankly, you're absolutely right in terms of when people think about tech, high tech, right? The complicated math equation coming to mind, right? People think I was not good at math at school. This is not for me. And yet, I mean, I'm a good example of something, because you can start somewhere. You don't need to be math academic to go into the field, because as you said, the democratization of technology happening, and much, in workplace, we need people who are capable to do certain things in the area. And this is very rewarding area, by the way. If you think about compensation, this is a great motivational. Yeah, absolutely. So fantastic that, again, people don't have to be even college graduates nowadays. I hear about boot camps. Have you heard of those, where people being trained and being helped to find the job?
I think boot camps are wonderful initiatives when we assign them to the right level of qualifications and the right task. So if we do boot camps and then we place those people at a level where you talk about quantum encryption that's not going to work. But if you take the people trained on specific tasks and trained on specific understanding, and they go do the things that need to be done, I mean, yes, please bring it on, and stop believing that everybody involved in cybersecurity has to be able to write a dissertation on quantum computing, because that's not necessary. We have all kinds of levels. There will be always a demand for those specialists in a very small area, but with extreme high level of knowledge. That will always be there. But technology has become so democratic and has become so accessible and has become so common that there is also a big layer where we just need people who really love to do this and who really enjoy learning the details of the technology they are working with. Now, here's the funny thing. We interview administrators. And we do that every year, and we involve that in our research. You hear really shocking things. You hear administrators who say, well, I didn't have training for the technology I'm working with in the past 2, 3, 4, 5 years. And when we then start talking about why, some of them say, I'm working overtime constantly. My boss doesn't make time for me. The organization doesn't support me. I just don't have time to do even additional training. It's a problem. I just cannot manage that. Others say, I don't need that. And that's the part where it gets dangerous, that people get so convinced of their own experience and competence, and they do have experience and they do have competences, but they forget that is 5-6-year-old knowledge that they have, and the technology changes in 2-3 months cycles. So what you have learned about Microsoft Exchange 6 years ago is very cool, is very necessary, very important, but it doesn't add all the security details that have evolved over the last 5-6 years. When you have learned how to create a cloud environment 5 years ago or 10 years ago in the early stages, well, good for you, important information. But if you do not constantly update that and constantly improve and constantly educate, you're working with outdated information. So I would rather have somebody with bootcamp technology who maybe doesn't know everything, but that person comes in with the latest, greatest information and skill set for the challenges we have today. I think that's a very cool solution. And I think that it is also a bit better than when we are working with outdated information. And maybe when we do that right, and we bring in the bootcamp folks, and we bring in the ladies, and we bring in all kinds of from talents from all kinds of directions, and then we can free up those very experienced system administrators and make sure that they have time for proper training and education in the current technology. So we are solving things by solving things. And I think that's the way it always works.